Good evening, everybody. I'm Jan Yanahiro.
And I'm Richard Hart.
Well, no, I haven't changed the color of my hair. This is, of course, the Bionic Woman. She is standing on a 3-story building on this shake table. I'm at the John Bloom Earthquake Engineering Center here at Stanford in Palo Alto, and this, of course, is a simulated model of a building on a shake table. What would happen in case an earthquake struck? I'm with Peter Yanov, and he is an expert on earthquake damage prevention. Now, he's going to show us what's going to happen to this Bionic Woman, actually, when an earthquake occurs. Now, Peter, this is an earthquake building, right? Sort of.
It's this is a model of a very typical steel 3-story building. Many of these are in San Francisco. Normally, of course, they're higher. And what we've done is programmed the shake table to simulate an earthquake, let's say a relatively small quake, maybe between 5 and 6 on the Richter scale. You will see the motion start slowly and build up.
Whoa.
And of course, she needs to be sitting down in a strong earthquake. The ground is moving under the building quite a lot, and the building is starting to respond, and it is shaking. Of course, this is well constructed. It's a welded steel building, and all the connections are holding together, so I would not expect to see any damage. However, if this building was not properly built, if it was weakly connected, then it is very likely it will suffer severe damage and could collapse.
Now, Peter, what things are you going to show me about earthquake damage prevention?
Well, I thought it would be good to first take a look at a few houses, the types of houses that I would expect to suffer damage in an earthquake. This would be maybe split-level houses or some on stilts, we'll see. For example, if a house is up on a hill on stilts, and just sticking out like many do off of the hill, unless the stilts are very carefully braced, very thoroughly designed by an engineer, then that house can be hazardous.
What about the stucco houses and Victorian houses?
Okay, now Victorian houses are older, and the one problem that occurs with them is with the foundation again. They're often not bolted down. On the other hand, the houses themselves normally have relatively small rooms and many walls. So that makes them quite strong. There are a lot of walls to resist the motion. Now, for the newer houses, that's one of the problems. Many of the houses just simply do not have enough walls in some places. For example, when the garage is at the bottom floor, well, in that case, if there is too little wall on the bottom story, then you could have a problem. The walls can fold up, the ones that are there can fold up, and the house can go. I think I can illustrate that with a little model that we brought. Let's first have a house we'll add a garage here, but first we don't have a garage. This is a solid wall.
Got it.
Okay? Now, go ahead and push with me on the top in this direction. Here's the earthquake trying to shake the house.
Yeah.
And as you
sturdy.
see, it's pretty sturdy. But now let's take this wall out completely, and now let's push the house. Now look what happens.
Oh, yes.
It completely folds.
Yes.
What that means is that we ought to have a wall somewhere inside that strengthens the building. So you can still drive in, of course. Okay, so now let's take a look at your house.
Peter, you know, I've never been underneath my house. This is the first time. What are you showing me here?
Well, I want to show you probably the most important detail in a house for earthquakes for all ages. And these are the anchor bolts, and this is the bolt, you can see here, that hold the base plate of the house, and the rest of the house is built on that, to the concrete foundation below. These bolts must be put in place. To me, that is the #1 priority if you're worried about earthquakes. This bolt prevents the house from sliding off. During the earthquake, the ground is moving, and unless the two are connected with these bolts, the whole house can slide off and fall.
Now, what about the windows? I have a lot in this house.
Yes, and I have the same problem at home.
Is it safe?
Well, the windows are the one thing we cannot do a whole lot about. They just break in earthquakes, not often, but some do, so the only thing one ought to really do is stay away from them in a quake.
Peter, I'm told that I live near a fault line right over there. What fault is it?
Yes, that's the most famous one of all of them, and that's the San Andreas fault, of course.
The San Andreas,
In this part of Hillsborough, the fault from right here is about maximum quarter of a mile away. This portion of the fault, all of this portion that we see, broke in 1906. And in this particular location, I would think that the displacement of the ground was 10 to 15 feet. Basically, what happened is the ground moved like that.
Jeez.
And the portion of California on the other side of the fault moved north towards Alaska 10 to 15 feet with respect to where we are now.
What's going to happen in an earthquake with all those high rises?
Well, why don't we go downtown and I'll show you. As you can see, with some of the older brick buildings, the mortar is very weak.
Jeez, it
And-
comes right off.
Right, and in addition, they were never designed to withstand earthquakes. So this type of a building is one of the most dangerous type in earthquake country.
So we know about brick buildings and how it's not too terribly safe. What about, say, like the building like the Transamerica Pyramid right up here? Is that safe?
Well, the Transamerica Pyramid is a relatively new building in the last few years. It is a steel structure. The historical record of earthquake shows us that very few well-constructed steel buildings have been severely damaged. I would expect that it, just like many of the other high-rises in San Francisco, would do very well in an earthquake. They're specifically designed to withstand damage. I don't expect to see these buildings collapsing. They may suffer some damage, but it can be repaired. They may lose, as I said before, some windows. Right.
That's it.
Right. That's cheap to repair. I think one of the worst hazards in San Francisco is exemplified by something like the parapet over there. As you know, a law was passed in San Francisco to strengthen all of these parapets. So the city of San Francisco has been going building after building and strengthening these buildings. So if this program proceeds and we don't have an earthquake for a few more years, then we will not have that problem. That's another problem that is solved, so we don't have to worry about it in earthquake country.
You're right, we all do live in earthquake country. And I'd like to share with you my copy of a book that I think is very important. Now, normally we don't really plug books on our show, but this one I think is important. It's Peter's book, Peace of Mind, is How to Save Your Home and Life Should an Earthquake Occur. It tells you all the things that you can do today, simple and necessary things, to make your home more earthquake resistant. So I'm keeping this copy. Don't go away. I'll be back in Good Ideas in just a moment. Peter and I are going to have a cup of coffee. Come on, Peter.